Republicans just weeks away now from controlling the House of Representatives for the first time in 4 years. The margin is going to be really slim, one of the slimmest we've seen in decades. And this is coming as lawmakers return to Washington for a very busy lame duck session. Democrats want to push through key legislative agendas, including the bill to protect same-sex and interracial marriage. You may have heard about it. It is called the Respect for Marriage Act, which has passed the Senate. This happened just yesterday in a landmark vote. We want to bring in Republican Congressman Andy Barr of Kentucky. Congressman, welcome back to the program. That Respect for Marriage Act has to come back to you all for a vote there in the House. You voted against it the first time. Do you plan on voting for it this time or against it?
I'm going to vote against it, TJ, not because we should express intolerance or not respect all of our fellow citizens, but because this is less about protecting the rights that have already been conferred to same-sex marriage and more about expressing intolerance for our fellow citizens who have a traditional view of marriage. Those rights are already enshrined by the Supreme Court, conferring those rights to same-sex couples. We don't need to be expressing scorn for those citizens who have a traditional view of marriage. And what I'm concerned about is the Senate rejected a simple amendment that would protect the conscience rights of Americans, the religious freedom rights of Americans who have a more traditional view of marriage. And this does nothing to change the legal status that same-sex couples have. So it's really just a gratuitous and politically motivated piece of legislation that's not necessary to protect same-sex couples.
Congressman, you said this is unnecessary because the Supreme Court settled marriage equality. They also settled Roe v. Wade, and I think this is why so many people now think this is necessary, because they wonder what this court is going to do. You've given your reasons here for not supporting it, but do you support same-sex marriage?
I think it's a settled question, and the Supreme Court has resolved that issue. And with respect to the Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs, it's important to recognize, and the reason why I think this bill is gratuitous and not necessary and politically motivated, is the Supreme Court was very clear in Dobbs in distinguishing its decision to overturn Roe versus Wade and Dobbs not impacting the Obergefell decision that legalized same-sex marriage. They specifically said that the Dobbs decision will not disrupt the Supreme Court's precedent legalizing same-sex marriage. So again, this bill is not necessary to protect same-sex marriage and same-sex couples, but what it would do is it would encroach upon the conscience rights of millions of Americans who simply want to practice their faith, and we shouldn't be forcing people to violate the basic tenets of their beliefs, the basic tenets of their faith. Same-sex couples have the right to marry under Supreme Court precedent. There's no need to have the government interfere with religious institutions or religious beliefs.
And I want to, because it's such an important question, Congressman, there. And you talked about tolerance. And again, I asked you a direct question about same-sex marriage, and it's 2022, and a lot of people are watching on that question. And if you're against same-sex marriage and you have your reasons for it, a lot of people have religious reasons for that. But in this setting, and you're there and talking about reasons for not voting for this particular piece of legislation, because of tolerance, but are you not supportive of, on the record here, are you against same-sex marriage?
No, look, I believe my religious beliefs are one thing, and that's one thing, but in the civil space, in the legal space, as a matter of federal law by the Supreme Court, this issue has been settled, and the Supreme Court reiterated that the issue is settled in the Dobbs decision when they overturned Roe versus Wade, distinguishing their overturning Roe versus Wade from the Obergefell decision, which was the Supreme Court decision that legalized same-sex marriage. So we don't need to codify it in a way that would violate the basic fundamental religious beliefs of Americans who believe in traditional marriage. Tolerance should go in all directions, TJ. We should be tolerant of people who want same-sex marriage. We should also be tolerant of those people of faith who believe in the religious institution of marriage being between one man and one woman. And I think this country is a tolerant country, But tolerance goes in all directions, and we shouldn't have double standards.
All right. Well, Congressman, we appreciate you and that answer and answering all of our questions here and being on the program again. I know we're going to see you down the road. Thanks so much. All right.
Thanks, TJ.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.